Amazing. We may have somebody come in, we may not. But we can start, I think, call to order for the April 28th local planning committee meeting. I think we start with review and acceptance of the minutes from last meeting. Thank you.
Move approval.
Oh, you have two?
There were two.
Move
Should've gotten
approval
two.
of the minutes of April
April 1 and 8.
and 8.
Second.
And no one's on digitally, so I think we can take a voice vote. Yay. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Cool. Great. This, I don't know. Thank you. Yes, I'm sorry. But I mean, it's, you know, our agenda is so massive that it's simple. So I think we're going to pick up where we left off last time. Is review and prioritization of the action items, and it, you know, I was participating remotely last time, and it sounded like the 2x2 was working well. We were kind of efficient with that, and we're grooving on that. So I think we'll probably pick up where we left off. Before we do that, Sharon, I wanted to just because I was thinking, oh, I want to make sure I got to ask her. Have you gleaned any more about? Because I know your clock is running down. What the document is going to come to us in what format?
Well, I mean, it's available now, partially in a layout in an InDesign format. It's not complete, obviously, because the work isn't
But
complete.
literally, how does it get saved? Is it like .doc, .pdf? Is it in some proprietary software? I just want to make sure, you know, like...
It's in the cloud.
Okay.
So it's in the
Yeah,
ether.
yeah.
And it's shareable as a PDF.
Okay.
So you can comment. I think you were sent, and I can find in my email. We can try to bring it up in two different ways. One was a commentable copy, so that means you can go in and make a comment, change, you know, not change things, but make comments.
Yeah.
And the other version is just, I think it was just for print. So it just shows what the final document will look like, you know, kind of as the reader is seeing it on the screen or in print. So it's printable, it's also shareable online. That was what I think everybody wanted in the beginning, and it's really kind of the way a lot of these plans are going now. So they're available both on the web, you know, like at the town website, or they can be printed.
I think it would be great to have that updated link in all of our emails. That would be good.
You said it's on the town website right now?
No, it's not. No, I don't believe it is. No. So what you were sent was this, you know, like I said, two versions in a shareable format, so you can make comments on it, and you can do that at any time. That link will just stay that way until the next version comes out. And then a second version is how it will ultimately look.
I think we would all benefit from having that updated link.
When will we send that?
Yeah.
It was with
April 5th. I have it here.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we would benefit from it again, all of us.
Okay. Do you literally want me to send it again, or do you?
Sure.
Can you find? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I have a follow-up question, if I may. You've talked a bit over the journey about a companion PowerPoint presentation. Is that part of the deliverable? And if so, have you started it, or?
I have not started it. It can be depending on timing and budget. So, no, I have not started on that yet.
Oh, is that
Is that what we're going to
a
need?
companion to the whole plan or
Correct.
companion to
To
the
the-
executive
so that-
summary?
So, executive summary, I would think.
Yeah.
I've started an executive summary, but not. I've only gotten so far because we're still working on a lot of these, and you know, some of these sections are still being updated.
Right.
So-
Well, but the slides with headlines so that you know content will be filled in over time, at least
Yeah.
you could have the template organized. Is it 15 pages, 20 pages? We actually looked at other towns' PowerPoint presentations at one point. I remember.
Was there one or more that you liked?
We liked Brewster. Who else? Who was looking at? Mary, we looked at some together.
Brewster, and I also like I think Joyce even mentioned at the last meeting, town of Yarmouth. Yarmouth had a nice, very accurate webpage that actually has the chapters of the LCP linked to the individual chapters, so people can view it digitally as well as in one document as well.
And that's exactly what you'll be able to do with this.
Great.
Yeah, you'll, okay, let me,
What you said you'll be able to do with it, are you gonna set up the PowerPoints that you're drilling into it, or are you just making the document available to be indexed? It's two different things.
well, there's, the document is currently being indexed so
Okay.
that
So
the
you can-
viewer can jump from section to section as you need to. It's totally separate from a PowerPoint, but it's, and, you know, maybe we can just take a look at it, if, you know, whenever, if you have enough time this evening, we can take a quick look at it and at what,
I think the summer, I don't think anyone's gonna, like, I think what we're talking about is having, you know, 10, 12 slides max that are content pulled probably out of the executive summary. I think what we're envisioning is that we're gonna have to go around and socialize this summer before different committees and things like that. And it would be nice to have a standard set of slides to say, here's the local comprehensive plan, without being exhaustively, you know, because we can fill in the details, but, you know, this is the almost 3-year process, and this is the purpose of it, and this is the takeaway. I mean, we've all been educated, but, you know, we can speak extemporaneously to some sense about, like, what the purpose is and the Cape Cod Commission review and things like that, but I think to have something to, like, say, go before the different committees with,
sure.
that is visually just a different interpretation of the executive summary would be helpful.
Visually appealing for somebody
Yeah,
to.
yeah,
dive
it's
into without-
highly designed, you know. I think 10 slides would be a goal or something,
Okay.
you know, it doesn't have to be,
Yeah.
it's not massive.
And, you know, when would you like that? I would think you would want that in June, so that.
Yeah, Dan.
Okay.
I guess, and
Because by then
you don't have to
hopefully
have,
have a
yeah,
full-
because we're going to
full
be
plan.
socializing this July, August,
Mhm.
right? July, August, and September, and we, you know, we have this vision of this fall town meeting.
Right.
I guess I just mark it in the sand going forward as we are. We know, the end of June. We're gonna have this work, and this work will quote be completed from Ty and Bond. I envision that we're gonna need some ability to minimally edit the document. Because I know we don't want to massively edit this, but if the housing production plan is any template, any
Indication.
yes, indication, yeah, there, so
Well,
yeah.
Editing is one thing, commenting is another. So editing, if you have InDesign, if someone has InDesign,
That's what I'm
editing
saying.
can be actually tricky because you have to have the software.
That's what
And,
I'm
yeah.
asking.
Yeah.
It's got to come
Well-
to us in a format that we can edit it, because if the select board loses their marbles about something in August, we've got to be able to change it.
Well,
Unless you are envisioning a different way.
well, the way unfortunately it will have to work once it's in a layout form is for someone who has the software to be able to go in and edit it. And what we had discussed, I think a month or so ago, was us retaining some of our funds
Okay.
to come back and do another sweep of it, say in September or something like
Okay.
that. But to like edit it on the fly.
No,
would
I
be
understand what you're
difficult.
saying.
It
No, I
would-
understand what you're saying.
Yeah, it's, so it's something where you have, a series of workshops, you get these
Yeah.
comments.
Yep.
You will be able to compile all the comments in this
Yeah.
PDF,
Yeah.
send them to us, and then we make the changes.
Okay.
Or, in the event that isn't the way it works out, the other avenue we talked about was getting some technical assistance from the Cape Cod Commission to
Okay.
do that, because they have
Okay.
the capability.
Does
to
that
do
resonate with you think?
I'll follow up with the Cape Cod Commission. I did talk with the administration, so we do, for the time extension, we will have to go back to the selectmen to get a formal vote to allow the time extension to go into the fall for the contract. And again, Sharon did indicate some technical assistance funding from the Cape Cod Commission, but we can also, you know, I don't know how that's gonna play out. I would hope that we wanna try and
Yeah.
get all of the work through Ty and Bond and to have this in a final draft, so that, you know, any edits are going to be more minor, if anything.
Yes, I think it would be better to prepare for some major objection to something
Mhm.
that's gonna require something that's edited in that proprietary software in July, August, September. As long, and hey, best case scenario, that doesn't happen, amazing, but.
Well, I mean, there's definitely the ability to make it happen, it's just the timing of
Yeah.
it. So I think it'll be more challenging if it'll eat up a lot more time if there are like lots of incremental changes, you know, every week.
No,
say, for
I
example.
understand.
But if
I
it's
understand.
like,
No, we'll
all right,
make a line in the sand.
you have a
but
June
yes.
draft, then
Yes.
you'll have a August draft,
Yes.
and then you'll have the
Yes.
October draft, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
That is much more manageable
Yes,
because
understood.
it has to go from me to someone else and then.
Understood.
So,
And just
yeah.
because
Yeah.
we can assume nothing with this link you just sent us.
Yes, I sent it again.
Yeah, you sent it again, so we can all comment separately as ourselves.
Yes, and it looks like
Infinitely.
Margot already did.
Okay.
Looks like. Do you remember doing that?
Yeah, a while back.
And-
Yeah.
And it was only in a couple of
And
places.
Yes, right, that's-
infinitely and perpetually and separately.
Well, I don't know if this will, you know, be in violation of open meeting. You'll see each other's comments.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Yeah. As long as you don't comment on each other's comments. I think
correct,
that's
right,
okay,
not
right?
meaningful discussion, right,
Yes.
but, I mean, we
Right.
have to, yes,
Yeah.
we can.
You can
Yes.
infinitely comment on it.
Okay.
And it's
Okay.
actually a more efficient way of doing it
Yes.
from here on out.
Yes.
It'll be more
Yes.
efficient to
Okay.
do it through this.
And as we
Yeah.
dodge and pony it over the summer, we may get, comments that.
Yes, we should expect
But
comments.
the issue is, we get the statements here and we get one comment this way and one comment
Yeah,
that
no, no,
way.
well,
You
we
know,
have to-
you don't
yeah,
want to sort of
resolve those, right.
Yeah, I'm
change it this way and then
I'm
change
not
it
sure
that
that I would
way.
open it up to all Harwich citizens to comment, like,
No.
well, we can talk about that, but chair boards, I just want to make sure we
Yeah.
had a plan for
Yeah,
the
yeah.
event, I mean, we're gonna have a new select board, like, there's, yeah.
So this gives you the ability to share it with, endless number of users and for them to comment.
I don't mean to be painfully pedantic, but what format is you delivering that? This is Brewster, and you guys did Brewster. So we've been looking at a Word-like document. Is this the format that you're building towards?
Yeah.
And is this what we want?
This is PDF. This is a PDF,
Oh, that
but
I
it's
just got that.
it's laid out in what's called InDesign. It's a publishing software. Basically.
Okay, and that's the link that you just sent.
Yes, and then there's
Yeah.
the second
came to us last.
version is actually takes away that ability to comment, but it's still shareable. It's printable. It's able to be put on the web and viewed on the web, and it has a couple
Probably-
of neat features. It has these little jump to sections. So you were asking about, can you go back and
Yes.
forth and scroll around, very easily in the second version? I'm trying to bring it up, and it'll have a little plus sign. You click on the plus, and out pops the section dividers. So you can jump to sections, which is nice.
And I would say if you're socializing with your friends and neighbors, spread the interactive link right now, and let's keep the commentable PDF for commenting link to this. Because like you said, we don't need everybody's
Oh my
Joe
gosh.
Schmo's response to that.
So this
Okay.
is actually the format that I was trying to drive towards. When I said PowerPoint, it was something that was more visually appealing,
Oh.
which is what you're showing us.
Yes.
Did you get your photo yet?
Yeah, I did. I
Yeah.
want
So
to.
this is the second version,
Great photo.
which
I love it.
is just, you just
That's
get
my
the,
favorite thing so far.
That's my first
it's just like
comment.
looking at a JPEG or a.
I knew you would, but I still tell you I
You
love
just
it.
sent a link, right?
Yes.
Send it to, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the first one is to the shareable format, and this one is shareable, but not
your
not
lays on, huh?
editable or
Not commentable. Oh, you and the lays, yes.
No,
It's
that
amazing.
picture's coming out.
No, it's amazing.
What?
Well,
It's
let's take a vote
amazing.
on that right now. I say keeping it.
Yes,
What do you want?
unanimous. Brian and the Lays at our.
I think we
It's
did
amazing.
Photoshop out
It's amazing.
one of those.
That's amazing.
All
It's so
right, so
good.
this is good.
All right, okay.
All right.
With that, I think our biggest order of the night is to try and get through as many prioritized action plans as possible.
Yes.
And Sharon, we strategized a little bit just because you're taking advantage of all of our strengths. If you wouldn't mind, can the 2x2 seem to be working for us? So can we keep going with that?
We sure can. Do you want it up on the screen or just, I have it open. You left off, you had completed,
I think it'd be great if you could share it with us. That'd be amazing.
bringing sort of like, connectors, but maybe we can figure it out here. You left off with, you've completed water resources, so we would start, if you're going in order, we'd start with ocean resources.
And then a thought a little bit is we're just being mindful of the time if we're going to try and get through as much as we can without.
Yeah, I wonder if we could
You
just
you
sort
had
of-
a thought about that,
that maybe
right?
limit the discussion to a tight window, maybe a few minutes, and then if we can't come to agreement, let's just mark it and park it and come back to
Okay.
it.
What do you think seems reasonable? I'm a great timer. I live and die by the
It
time.
looks like a brick you could throw at
It
somebody.
floats. It floats. 'Cause my last
How
phone is
about
in
4
the
minutes?
4 minutes per
That sounds
section.
good.
Okay. I'm a great timer.
And Bernadette also submitted her comments as well, so
Her numbers.
her numbers, yeah.
Okay, that's awesome.
Now, what document are we going off of? 'Cause
The-
Mary, you had one that you were using in the room.
I sent a revised version around late this afternoon because I did not have the community design updates in there, the actions,
Yeah,
so
I think
they're
we
in there
should
now.
go with what we already have. I think it would be too late to go to that. There weren't that many changes.
Well, the idea is if it gave everyone a chance, as far as the document that we already have, it gave everyone a chance to really review what all the actionable items are.
Right.
And to be able to go through it in a manner that if we all have the same numbers down, then we can eliminate those for discussion. Just,
Sure.
this is the first swipe, if you will. And once we go through this first foundational ranking, then as we progress to assigning them to the various quadrants, if we have an overload in one quadrant, then we can take a deeper dive into reprioritizing some actions as we visually see that in the second phase of getting this ranking done, if that's agreeable with everyone.
I'm fine with it. Do you want to, so if we're going to start with, you said where we're going to start?
Ocean resources,
Okay.
and everybody's clear on sort of so the version I sent at, I think it was 3:30, it's updated to include community design if you want to discuss it, but it starts with, you have the goal, the related actions, the lead agency, your department.
Could we
Okay,
go with
but-
the old one? I think,
Yeah,
Yes.
I've got the one that Mary was leading with, at least I was doing notes.
Yeah, we should.
This is what we got last week.
Sharon,
what I-
did you
that's
send
what I
that
wrote.
This is what we
today?
got last,
Okay.
right.
As
Yeah.
far as the first swipe, we're just dealing with the
It's the same, it
impact
just
and
doesn't have the
feasibility.
community design. Yeah.
It's the same, yes, it hadn't changed except this afternoon,
Ocean
so.
resources.
Yep.
All right, so I'll start the timer if I would, because we're all such a functioning team, if anyone feels strongly about it, maybe throw out your number. If you've kind of been the SME in the last 3 years about it, throw out your number.
Throw it out louder.
Yeah, if there's strong disagreement, we can spend the 4 minutes discussing, and Mary has made it clear. I think it's great, Mary, thank you for articulating that about throw it in a more controversial pile, but we want to try to get through as many of these as possible. And then we turn into a pumpkin in 4 minutes. So, okay,
I want to give credit to Mary for the timing, it wasn't my idea.
amazing. Does somebody want to read it out loud, Mary, or what?
We can start with ocean resources.
Sure.
First bullet point, pursue funding for implementation of priority actions in the 2025 Hazard Mitigation Plan. The impact, I had a 4.
different. I had a 3.
I had a 3.
I would have said 3.
Okay, that's majority. Okay. And the feasibility, I had a 4 as well.
2.
2.
I don't know enough.
Okay, and again, I don't have the
Yeah,
wealth
so
of
we're-
knowledge.
These are our SMEs,
This
okay.
is good.
Yeah.
Not everything can be
Okay,
4
yeah,
fourths.
yeah,
But-
three and a 2.
Okay, 3 and a
That
2.
45 seconds, all right. Onward,
If I could
okay.
ask one more
Please,
thing.
yes.
While you're doing this, if it's clear who or what would be the lead agency or department or whatever, just shout that out and
Okay.
I'll throw it in.
And please, our
Yeah.
professional planner.
Because this will be
is-
part of, that's gonna be part of your action plan.
Amazing, is there a lead?
The planning department.
I didn't do that on purpose.
I really did not want to be getting it.
Would a lead generally be by system or goal, not necessarily, and action might be an exception. So we even do the leads at a higher level? I mean, I don't know
Well, it's
enough.
usually, the way usually it's done is like lead department or.
Yeah.
No, I understand, but I would think one department would probably have all 3 actions for ocean resources.
They may.
Probably would.
That's what I mean.
But if we do it on each line, we can find that out pretty quickly.
Oh, okay, good.
Right, again, this would just go, we can really have a deeper
Sorry.
dive once it's
Okay.
sectioned out.
All right,
All right.
roger that, go ahead.
The 10-4.
Sharon, the only thing I'd add to that, to
Yeah.
the hazard mitigation plan is like the Harbor and Conservation Commission also played a critical role in that as well.
Thank you.
Okay, second bullet point. Develop town policies on coastal rebuilding standards that are incorporated into bylaws. I said impact and feasibility both as a 3.
That's what I had.
Me too.
Yay!
Amazing. And our lead people on it are?
Feasibility.
So I think we went 3 and 3.
3 and 3.
Yep.
Big 3.
What would you have said?
I'm not sure what the chances are of getting it passed, but that's okay.
If we don't have any, right now it doesn't come to mind as far as the lead, we
No,
can come back to it.
Building official?
It's gonna be building,
That will
isn't
be
it?
planning and
Building.
Concom,
Yeah.
in addition to probably the Harbor and DPW, maybe DPW, because they do a lot of infrastructure.
Can't have that many leads. Can you?
Well, you can have at least 3 or 4 departments that are working together,
It's
yes.
gonna-
Well, working together,
Building's
but-
gonna have to come
Yeah.
into it
Just-
also, though, for standards,
Seems like
changing
one,
standards for building.
seems like one department should be coordinating.
Was there a lead on the hazard mitigation plan?
Yes,
Planning.
planning.
I think it's planning for all of us.
Thank you, David.
Glad to help.
Okay.
Third bullet point, continue to implement the town's comprehensive wastewater management plan to improve water quality in the Round Cove and Pleasant Bay watersheds. 3 and 4.
Bernadette had 4 and 3.
I had
4 and 3.
4 and 3.
I had 3 and 3.
3 impact and 4 feasibility, or please,
We're always saying impact first.
Impact first.
Impact is always first.
I had 4.
4 and 3.
4 and 3.
I think that's consistent with what we've heard.
okay. That's majority.
And is that's more DPW, wastewater.
It'll be water and
Yeah.
wastewater
Water,
commission.
wastewater.
I don't know if this is the place to mention it, but this is one of those ones that repeats from the water
Yes.
resources section.
Yes.
So,
Right, then,
Okay.
I think at the last meeting, I did note that there is some level,
Yeah.
you're going to see some
Yeah.
repetitiveness.
yeah.
Just to be the cheerleader here systemically, or, while we're organizing this, it's really cool to have, like, say, to be able to take wastewater, who's been a great supporter and very collaborative in this process and gets it, to go, when we go and talk to them this summer, and hey, these are the things, and this would be your, so in terms of making this, it's really nice for committees to be able, or
That's the one
groups
you-
within the town, to be able to go through and pick out, hey, this is our jam.
That's the one you went to, right, Ed?
What? Lead.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it's been, but so that's good. I'm just cheerleading.
Okay.
It's good to have the leads.
But in this continue to implement the town's CWMP, the select board has retained ownership of that.
Yes,
Yeah.
I was gonna say administration or.
Not not planning.
Okay. Well, isn't it, the select board and the water and wastewater?
Well,
Both.
Should be.
the water and wastewater, they don't want to get involved in deciding, you know, the phasing and the
Okay.
construction contracts. Once the pipe's in the ground and it's operational, then they take over.
Okay.
And they're very clear on that.
So the selectmen are making the policy decisions
Yeah.
about where we,
Yeah,
yeah, okay.
and approving, you know, this sort of contractual thing.
Okay.
Not
For
wishing,
good- For good or for bad.
not wishing to bog down. Why are we just talking Round Cove and Pleasant Bay?
Well, yeah,
Well,
it's
because
because
the
that's where they
next
started.
phase.
That is
Yeah.
where they
Yeah.
started.
Well,
Yeah.
we can
First
add
phases,
additional
right?
actions to
Yeah.
cover additional areas. You want to add
It's
another
not
action?
There are actions in other issue areas, that's, yeah, I think,
Well,
see with the water, just go back.
I think it's good to add another action to be more complete. Not-
But
not
what we
add
can
on to
do, again, in just getting through, we can note that
Okay.
to just get through this first level. And then also, as we pull it into the quadrants, we'll be able to see those overlap ones readily, so we can make sure that they're all in the
Yeah.
exact quadrant when it's visually out like that.
Right.
You're saying they're
So
missing.
it does appear in water resources, and you looked at it last time, and that action in that section has, it's broader. It includes participation in the Pleasant Bay Alliance and amendments to encourage housing opportunities, so it's a broader statement than it is.
So let's
in the
note
section.
question on the wording of this one and keep going.
Yeah, I had tried to save paper, so just put it over on the other side. We're into wetland resources.
Yes.
Keep
There's
it
only,
going.
there's two of them only. Number one is amend wetlands regulations to restrict the use of fertilizer and pesticides in wetland resource areas and buffer zones. I said 3 and 3 on this one.
So did I.
I had
This
4 and 3.
Bernadette had 3 and 1.
Jesus.
I would have said 4 and 3, but my question to the SME is, like, does the science support it? It's hard. It's like so biased. I mean, lots of communities around New England have, you know, lots of communities in Maine and stuff have fertilizer bans.
Yeah. Yes, the science supports it, but
Right.
it's a very challenging thing to do politically.
Right.
Yeah.
But I guess, does the science support, like, the impact being 4, and we acknowledge that it's hard to do by saying 4 and 2?
Well, it's
Well,
4.
if you're increasing the nitrogen loading from the fertilizer and stuff, you're impacting everything that wetland.
No, I'm a believer. I'm just
No,
trying to say, should
That's what I'm saying,
should we,
so-
is the
On impact, we're between 3 and 4.
right,
A couple of us are 4, a couple
Yeah.
of you are 3.
right.
So I don't know if we can resolve that one quickly, maybe we
3 and a
can.
half.
Can we,
Feasibility is probably
Three and a
between
half.
2 and 3.
Yeah, I agree with David.
Being 4 being the hardest to do, right? Right.
can we do just a
No.
count of how many, say, impact
For
3?
being highly feasible.
Yeah.
Okay,
One,
got it.
one
Got
day.
it.
Let's
Okay.
try Mary's tiebreaker.
All right, the impact, how many vote for 3? We have
I would say
1, 2, 3, I said 4.
And I
And-
would say 4. But
Okay, and for the feasibility,
Four.
No, we gotta
Five.
count the 4s.
4s, 1, 2, 3, 4, there was 4, and the 4s were 1, 2, 3. Did I count that right?
No.
No.
Did I have my fingers and toes out?
So, all 4s, put your hands up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's 4s.
3,
have
put
it.
your hand up. Okay, we're tied.
They're tied.
why don't you just mark 3-4 for the time being, and we'll come back to it.
Yeah.
Okay.
3 and 4, and we
Yeah.
can always
And
come back to it.
And then, so feasibility is 4 being the easiest.
Yes.
So we think this is hard
It's
to
just
do
either-
politically.
No,
This
four
is
is the hardest.
I think we should vote between 2 and 3 on this one.
okay. And I
No,
would say
4
it's
is the easiest.
Four.
Oh, one's the
four-
hardest?
Yes.
One,
Picture the
4
quadrant.
is the
No, it's
most
just
feasible.
backwards.
low feasibility is a
No,
one.
it's actually
4 is the most feasible.
correct.
Oh, hell, it's
Most
like 1 or 2
feasible.
then around
Okay,
here.
so then okay. So who votes that for feasibility that it's a 2? It's pretty darn hard.
I'll go with you.
Okay, you got a 2. That's a majority.
Okay.
Cross out my 3.
You okay with that?
Yeah, I just had it backwards.
Okay.
It's Monday.
All right, onwards.
Onward.
Tuesday would be better.
Number 2 under wetland, adopt landscape guidelines for restoration of wetland buffer zones. Wow. I think it's a 3 and 3.
Me too.
I had a 2 and 3.
I would have said a 2 and 3.
3
2
and
and
2,
2.
Bernadette.
What'd you say?
Bernadette had
So
3 and 2.
4 is more impact.
4 is the highest impact
Yes.
and the easiest to do on feasibility.
Correct.
When you're picture the
Now,
two,
okay.
the
no.
2x2, the upper right-hand quadrant is the highest value and the easiest.
So
to
the
do.
4, so we had a 2 and a 3.
Yeah.
Is that what the discussion
Impact-
is?
What's the impact? What's the science about the impact of that?
Oh, it's,
According to the description, the high impact for 3 is significant improvements to economic growth, sustainability, public health, safety, or
Yeah, no, I
livability.
was just saying, if you really enforced landscaping around wetlands.
this is just guidelines.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that's why I gave it a 3.
okay.
You know,
Mhm.
And I just didn't think
it's
it
not
has.
enforceable, but
Yeah.
but oftentimes if you provide people with good education, they'll go along with it to try to plant native.
It's probably the same,
species,
the
that
same
kind of
as
thing.
fertilizer, right? I would say like.
Well, I didn't
maybe a
think
two.
it was as high as fertilizer. That's why I ranked it one
Oh,
step.
a 2 and a 2 or something?
I had it fertilizer at 4 and this
Yeah.
one at 2. I had
Right,
it at 2.
right. I would think the fertilizer is a bigger impact, so.
So we're between 2 and 3 on impact.
Okay, I am a 3 on impact.
How many 3s?
Bernadette.
Okay.
4.
And how many 4s?
No, it's how many 2s.
How many 2s on impact?
2s on impact.
Feasible,
Yeah.
sorry.
Okay.
I'm not feeling strongly about this. So
Yeah,
I think a
not
2,
either.
a 2 is probably.
A 2.
Two.
That's fine.
Okay.
Two and,
Feasibility?
yeah, feasibility 2 and.
No, we have it.
Feasibility,
We just-
feasibility, I'll get there. Feasibility is how easy, it's probably the same as fertilizer, it's hard, right?
No.
I put a 3 on that.
Okay.
If it's
Three.
guidelines, I think it's doable.
I
Sure.
think that's pretty easy.
3.
Okay,
So the 2
Great.
and 3.
2 and 3.
And the
Amazing.
commission just came out with
That's what I was thinking.
their pond restoration, the wetland buffer guidelines, but they're very thorough.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, yeah, exactly.
okay, doing great.
We're in wildlife and plant habitat.
Yep.
Amend the zoning bylaw to increase regulatory requirements for new development to preserve or create meaningful percentage of the site as native habitat that creates or expands wildlife corridors. I believe this is something the community has expressed. So I think the impact has to, at minimum, be a 3.
I gave it a 4.
I gave it a 4.
Good.
I knew I'd be an outlier on this one. I was waffling between 1 and 2. The reason being is that meaningful percentage of the site. I think that on individual developments, you don't get a big bang for the buck. I think the town needs to have a town-wide approach. So, it's just, I don't expect to sway anyone on this one. I'm just saying, I personally don't think it's the best way to accomplish it.
Can we meet in the middle with
You don't have
3?
to. You don't have to. If you only have one outlier,
Oh.
you go with
Yeah.
go with
Okay, I didn't see any other hands.
I kind of agree with you. Yeah, and I'm trying to, the art in this is to create, we'll see, and Mary so articulately put it that we're going to have to create a separate wash of this, is in the process of like, what are the big ends, right? We don't want to have a lot of 3s and 3s or something.
Right.
Yeah, or a lot of 3s and 2s. You want to have be very clear with or 4s and 1s.
We don't
4s
have-
and 4s.
We don't have a lot of large land being developed. So if you have a 6-acre site that you end up getting 6 houses on, you can't really do much for wildlife corridors.
Well, you could, but they clear cut everything. I mean, there's an easy way to leave a corridor at the back or along the side. I mean, from a development standpoint,
And the typical thing that happens is the developer creates a little strip, around the perimeter of the property, which doesn't necessarily abut any other open space. And in practice, what happens is that people just end up like throwing their brush there, and it's not meaningful open space. Whereas if you insist that it's meaningful open space, that it connects with some other open space, that it's, you know, that will create those corridors.
And I think that strategy works on less developed communities. I think when you have larger pieces developed, that strategy works. When mostly you have pretty small pieces, I just don't think it works as well.
Well, I think you're right that we're far enough down the development path that
Right.
there are, yeah.
We
Yeah.
do have, I
Right.
mean, even though you don't have active development, there's a lot of action items that really address the core issue with the community is how are the parcels being developed, how we're going about this. And this is one of those areas to address it.
1 minute on it.
Yeah.
Well, and we do have some development. You know, if anything ever happens up north with Pine Oaks or the Marshline property, that's all
Sure.
development as far as how it's done.
Yeah, good point.
So you want to say like 3 and 3, or?
3 and 3 would be okay with me.
I'm good with 3 and 3.
3 and 3.
Yeah, that's fine. But you know, they're both substantial parcels, but they're both being developed as 40Bs, which exempts them, for the most part, from town bylaws on this stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, it's
No,
just-
that's a good point.
Okay, all right.
Onwards.
We're dealing with another zoning bylaw. Amend the zoning bylaw to develop requirements for replacement of lawn and/or introduced landscape materials with native species in proposed development. That, to me, creates, someone has to really be knowledgeable about this. So I'm looking at 2 for impact and 1 for feasibility because of the level of knowledge to get that done.
Bernadette had 3 and 2.
That's what I had.
We had 2 and 2.
I think I like 2 and 2.
I think we're at 2 and 2. I can't go home tonight with anything less than a 4, but 2 and 2 sounds good.
And any zoning requirement, Sharon will require the
I'm-
planning
I'm-
board
yeah, I'm
and
afraid
the
I'm
Cape,
putting your-
some guidance from the Cape Cod Commission on some of this, I think also will be a good player
Yeah.
to highlight.
They'll like
So we're on to open space?
Yes.
Yeah.
Look at us nailing the whole section
Cruising.
down. Keep going.
Open
Mary,
space.
you're on fire.
Develop land management plans for conservation lands as described in 2024 to 2031 OSRP. Are they in the works? I put a 3 impact and a 4 feasibility, especially if they're actually being looked at right now. The feasibility is there.
I'm pretty sure they're good.
It's, I gave it a 3 and a 3. I didn't give it a 4 on feasibility because it's a lot of work to do a management plan.
Okay.
And the Conservation Commission has some. There's one for Thompson's Field, there's one for Bell's Neck, but there are lots of other lands out there.
I also had 3 and 3.
Yeah.
I have to go with my professional planners on this. I was all into 4 and 4. You know the technicality of it. Yeah.
Bernadette had 3 and 3.
Oh, it's 3 and 3.
We're good. 3 and 3 it is.
Sold.
Next, revise the open space residential development section of the zoning bylaw to provide incentives to encourage its use in proposed development projects. Pursue key land acquisitions for conservation purposes included in the OSRP.
Before we vote, is this 1 action or 2?
Sounds like 2.
It is.
It is 2, yes. I had wondered about that myself. I put 4 and 4.
Bernadette had 4 and 3.
I had 4 and 3.
I had 3 and 3, and I'm happy to go with 4 and 3.
Yeah, I'm fine with 4 and 3.
So which one? Which
The
half?
first half.
Are we doing, for both of them together, as Sharon was asking, is it 4 on impact and 3 on feasibility? We have majority?
Yes.
Yep.
4 and 3 for the first sentence? Or for the whole thing?
Well, make it 2 sentences and make them both 4 and 3.
Okay. Okay.
Can I ask a question? I mean, Margaret, you probably know better. When they're talking about key land acquisition for conservation purposes, how much do we really ever purchase versus Harwich Conservation Trust?
It depends. The original pattern was when the land bank first passed, the town was buying and the trust was putting conservation restrictions. We've kind of flipped that now, and the trust is buying it and the town is putting conservation restrictions. But in a lot of these projects, most of them, it's joint funding. But there's community preservation money.
Okay.
And then the
Okay,
trust
so that
does.
counts.
And a lot of-
Voted
So
town.
you're gonna put
And a lot
conservation
of-
trust as the lead agency? No, I don't think you can, really.
No, we can't.
OSRE?
The real estate and open space committee.
RES.
REOS.
REOS.
Yeah.
But also, REOS, a lot, it also depends because a lot of times they a parcel gets identified and the Conservation Trust puts it together with their funding and which attracts state funding, but the state funding has to come to the town.
Yeah.
So it gets
It's a
purchased by the,
partnership. Yeah,
you know, yeah.
It's a partnership on almost all of these
Yeah,
purchases
yeah,
in one
yeah,
way or
yeah,
another.
yeah. So,
We ready?
yeah.
Okay. Here's the last one in natural systems, and it's a biggie. Develop a tree protection and/or land clearing bylaw, or integrate tree protection and land clearing regulations into appropriate existing regulations to protect forest resources beyond wetland buffer zones. I said 3 and 3.
The impact I think is bigger than that. Is 4. Like trees are our biggest carbon sink, right? I think it's really hard to do, but I would say that the impact is more.
Okay, I was gonna say 4 and 2, but I could go 4 and 1.
How hard is you've
Bernadette voted 3 and 2, and
okay. You know tree laws.
I think for the tree protection, it's very similar to the, to the intent of creating meaningful open space. I think it's a challenge to do.
And the tree wall.
So
It's like a 4 and a 2 or something like that. Or?
I think it would be difficult, yes.
Yeah, but
It's the right thing to do, but
I'd
it
say at least a
doesn't get
3.
done.
I would say, are we okay saying impact to 4? I mean, so many people, like so
Absolutely.
much of
Yes.
Harwich has told
Yes.
us about the trees.
Yep.
That's
Like,
a
Yes.
4 and 2.
like in their own little particular ways.
Unless something happens, I think still think it's a one feasibility with the existing people we have.
Can we do a 3 feasibility only for the interpretation, because there is such a strong community push for the impact at a 4?
Oh, I don't
Yeah, but I
think-
don't think it makes it more feasible.
But it
Yeah.
doesn't go anywhere. I mean, they brought it up at town meeting last year.
I'd
I
say
mean,
it's
it
either
got
a 2
shot
or a
down
1.
when
Yeah,
Patrick went to
yeah.
select board.
I don't think
Okay.
it affects
Well-
the feasibility. Yeah, but it's 4
Okay.
and 2. But you know, yeah.
Okay.
The problem is, the reason it got shot down last year, and the reason it'll probably get shot down is because this has been an individual effort.
Right. So it's
And-
good to say it's a 4.
And,
yeah.
and
It's not the way to go about it.
you need to have
Well, that's what we're
one
trying to
committee
do.
and another develop it and
Yes.
present it.
And that's why I'm trying to
not
lay the
arguing
groundwork.
that,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I think there has to be a change in the board for it to go anywhere.
We're trying to lay the light, point the flashlight.
Oh, yeah.
I like that.
Trees are a
Flashlight.
big deal.
So
we live.
We're at 4 and 2?
I had 2 yesterday.
Or
Harvard
4 and 1.
How about 4 and 2?
4 and 2. So
Let's do 4 and
get
2.
us up the hill a little bit.
Let's try to,
Yeah, but you know what, it paints a picture.
Yeah.
Something
And-
that's a 4 and 1 deserves attention.
And-
As to
and-
what do you need to do to
and-
move it?
And why is this happening?
so are
And
we
this
going to
would
do
be-
4 and 2 or 4 and 1, if I could?
4 and 1. I'm 4 and 2, rather, 4 and 2. I'll go.
Are we at
2.
4 and
2?
2?
4 and 2.
Before we move on, I'll just put my black hat on. My numbers are pretty low on this one. I don't give it the same level of importance that you do, Joyce, or that our community does. So I'm not going to get into that anymore.
Yeah, it's okay.
So-
I'm banging on
With your
the
raccoon.
I'm banging on the carbon sink of the science of like, of a full-grown tree.
Absolutely.
I fully believe in trees.
Yes.
So this is,
Again, it's a matter of how you go about it.
Yeah.
and this is going to be a separate bylaw, separate and apart from the zoning bylaw, it appears, the way it's worded. So,
I don't think it matters.
I don't think it
But-
specifies,
but who would be responsible
well,
for
that's the
That's
question.
right.
developing it?
Ooh, who do you want to tag for it? Not you.
I mean, Conservation Commission, the tree warden, the
Yeah.
natural,
Concom's
No, actually, it probably should
jurisdiction
come out of
is
planning.
limited to
Wetlands.
specific geographic
Well,
areas.
their regulatory responsibilities are limited to specific geographic areas.
Right.
To ask them to do an advisory development, they can do it anywhere.
Do we have a natural
The
resources?
question is getting them to
Natural
do it.
resource director would be also a good source.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know.
Okay, we have completed the natural resources section here. How were we on time? Was that 20 minutes?
That was great. I did just 444.
Yeah,
No one
okay.
knows it's 4.
Sharon, where was the updates in the build systems or community?
It's in community design.
Community design. Let's, if we can do maybe the community systems first.
Yep.
That seems to be the most, and if we kind of push through that one, we can then have a little bit more time as
And-
far as,
and are
because
we-
this doesn't have the update of the community design. I don't think it does. No, I did. Those were David's ones?
Yes. But that just came out this afternoon, so I don't.
It's not radically different from.
No, but it
But
divides it
it's,
into.
this is a better place to start, is what you
Oh,
just said.
do you want to go ahead with community design or go with,
Systems.
start there? How does everyone wish to?
Built systems, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Community
Community
systems.
systems.
Cultural heritage,
Cultural
economy.
heritage.
Oh my God,
Pink
how's
one.
it?
Okay,
Or is it?
if I hear correctly, it's built systems, community design. We'll push through on that one.
No, I think
No.
it said
Cultural
community,
heritage.
Okay,
community systems, the third tab.
okay, then I didn't hear right.
No,
Now I'm
wait,
hearing
wait,
right.
wait, wait, wait.
We're going into cultural
This
heritage.
one, right?
All right.
The community is in both.
Cultural economy,
Wait,
housing.
but what was the change, what were the changes to, this one or the blue
No,
one?
it was the blue
The
one.
blue one.
Just the
All right,
community design.
we'll do the
section.
peach.
Just the,
Let's do
just community design.
We'll go to the community systems, cultural heritage. The first one is work with the Harwich Historical Commission to develop design guidelines that protect and preserve forms, layouts, etc., and key character defining features of historic resources, including traditional development patterns. I think when there's always a guidelines, I think 3 and 3 for me. Impact, and there's a typo at the top of the column. It's supposed to be feasibility. And you'll find that throughout the document. So I have 3 and 3 as far as impact and feasibility, especially if it's guidelines.
Bernadette had
I'm
3 and
on a
2.
different,
Peach.
This one.
You're in peach.
okay.
Love
Let
the
me
color.
See if I can find this.
Barbara and Christine, from any thought, 3 and 3 or?
Probably, since we're guidelines, I mean, it's gotta be better than what we have now. I mean, I'd love for it to be a 4, but the reality is it's kind of like pushing a rope.
I know you know the unintended consequences you've always talked to us about, but yeah, what would you?
You know, I think coming up with guidelines, the commission, the Cape
I
Cod
have no
Commission
idea
did
where
have
that is.
design guidelines for the West Harwich DCPC, so I think, you know, there's a lot there. It's just a matter of kind of going through it and making sure how familiar are certain boards and committees
That helps you.
aware of it. So, yeah.
So,
I have 3 and 3.
3 and 3 and 3.
3 and 3 it is then. Is that the consensus?
you with that, Christine?
Yes.
Okay, next.
Non-voting member.
No, I know, but you're our professional
Who's the
expertise.
lead on it?
Yeah.
Who's the lead?
Number 2 bullet.
Oh, we need to lead.
We need a lead.
Oh, lead. Thank you.
The Harwich Historic Commission.
And I would reference the Cape Cod Commission because I think that's something where they could definitely provide some technical assistance.
Are we okay?
Yep.
Enact traffic, blah, blah, if I can say the word, enact traffic calming measures, parking and pedestrian improvements in all villages, especially in Harwich Center and Port Cultural districts. I say a high impact 4 and feasibility a 3.
I was different on this. I wrote duplicate down, because I thought we had pretty much the exact same thing.
We do, there are duplicates, and we'll be able to really vet
So
them
all I'm
out.
saying is, I just thought it was more important to be located in the other place and
And
remo-
transportation
and removed
versus
here.
I can see why this is in the cultural heritage, because the traffic calming measures are focused in the cultural district. So I think that's why it's there, or duplicated there.
But the reality is that in Harwichport especially, and well, both, it's more than just the cultural districts.
Yeah. But the cultural
this is the
districts
cultural
are,
perspective.
that were designated by the state. The principle behind it is to really encourage walkable communities and economic development, and to support those organizations and businesses that are in town centers or areas of economic activity.
Yeah,
To make them more walkable.
in transportation, it says in Harwich Port and Harwich Center. So the end wording is a little different. In this section, it adds the words cultural districts.
Why don't we rate it, and we'll come back when we see the,
I'm making notes anywhere that you note duplicate, and it'll be in the spreadsheet as
That's
comments.
wonderful. Again, impact for me is 4 and feasibility 3. Is there any
I would have
others?
said 2 for feasibility.
2 for feasibility.
Yeah.
That's what I would have said.
Bernadette said 3 and 2.
Okay, we're going to have to take some kind of vote. We don't have a consensus. For impact only, I'm a 4. How many for 4? 3? Okay. And for,
For 3.
So it's a 3 and 2.
Oh, you didn't take a vote on 3.
3, yes.
2 of that raised their hands for 4.
I wasn't good at math that day.
So now we're on feasibility, friends.
We're on feasibility.
Feasibility.
Is it, I have a 3, I have a 3. Anybody less than, okay, that's just me.
So we're at a 3 and a 2.
We are at 3 and a 2. Do we have a consensus for 3 and 2?
Yes.
Okay.
Given it's taken 13 years to get a little sidewalk built.
Yes.
But do you know, it's gone in 6 weeks. That
Exactly.
sidewalk is remarkable, anyway, onward. But it's cool to watch. Like, I know it took.
They are still gonna move poles on it.
They
Huh?
haven't done all the polls.
Yeah, they're moving on them
It's amazing.
pretty quickly.
It's
Have they
remarkable.
started?
Oh, I'm not arguing
Yeah,
that.
I've
It's
been down
just-
there.
Huh?
I haven't seen the poles being moved.
Yeah.
Onwards,
All right,
onwards.
third one.
Okay, as we move forward, we have the third bullet in cultural heritage, support additional programming at the 204, at the community center, Brooks Library, Academy, and Brooks Museum. I have an impact of 2 because I think they have a lot of good programming, actually.
I had to.
Feasibility is, for me, is 3. So I have a 2 and 3.
I agree with that.
Yes, I agree.
Bernadette had 4 and 3.
I would have gone 4 and 3.
Okay, we have differences. Do we have a consensus for 2 and 3 or 4 in impact?
I mean, I'm okay saying impact of 4 just to highlight these important institutions.
Since we had some 2s, I'd be okay to split
Do
the
a 3.
difference and go to 3
Yeah.
for an impact and 3 for feasibility.
Okay, 3-3.
I agree. 3 and 3 is the consensus for the programming. Okay?
And our cultural director
Yes.
and cultural commission.
She said, what did,
They're the
The
leads.
cultural council and the cultural director.
oh, okay.
Are the leads.
Next, invest in services that support young residents, including the Monomoy School District and the Harwich Recreation Department. I have an impact as 2 for the same reasons as before. I think we we do have have
I
that.
will die on this cross. This is a 4. This is a
This is a 4?
This is a 4.
We did have the presence at the select board meeting. Okay.
In anybody with a kid, like we got. So I mean, we have a lot of Harwich residents who just seeking services in Chatham because we're not there yet.
Got
So
it.
It's,
I will invoke my home approach to things again, which is when it really is important to somebody, then I'll go along with that.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
fine
like
with that.
I'm really.
But it's an odd place to put it, though.
Yeah, I think it
Cultural
should be
arts.
in community facilities, services, and infrastructure under both systems.
All right, we have a
I
cons-
removed
What's the feasibility?
It's actually a 4, I think,
4.
because we've made
they've made strides, yes.
It's
Yeah,
made strides.
we've
Yeah.
made strides. So I would
That
say
means keep doing it.
a 4 and a
Yeah.
4.
But
We-
consider moving it from cultural heritage to community facilities.
Sure,
I made that note.
sure.
Good, okay.
Okay, so we have a 4 and 4 on impact and feasibility with a move of that into
That's just-
Community systems.
community systems,
And
okay.
it's just all sorts of stuff we want to lay out for a variety of reasons.
And we're just moving right along here.
That would
Who's
also
the
be
lead?
the open space and recreation
Recreation department.
department, as well as the family and youth services department.
I might tag the select board with this
Family
too.
and youth.
Yeah, because they,
Family and youth, maybe.
I
No.
would have said
family and
recreation
youth,
department.
we have
We
a
do.
family and
We
youth
have a town
department.
psychologist.
Yeah,
Oh, well, I know. I didn't know that they created a department.
Yep.
Can we
It
can we
used to
tag
be-
the select board too?
Just the youth
Sure.
youth counselor.
We can, I'm always hesitant to,
Well, here's the thing: the regional school district thing is going to be contentiously opened up in the next. It's going to happen. So.
Well, I mean, you
Everyone,
know,
put your seatbelt on.
Yeah,
So, who else? But I guess I'm trying to put some rubber to the road. Like, I appreciate
It
family
is-
services, I appreciate rec, but they function at the discretion of the select board, right?
yeah.
So I think
well, if that's the case, then I
No,
do that as
no,
well.
no, but I know, you know, but like, really saying, hey, this is really, we have been told this, right? This is really important. I don't want to step out of line with this.
I think the programming is gonna be a department head issue. The select board, I wouldn't anticipate a chief elected official getting too into the weeds on programming of a department.
I guess they have on some of the HR stuff when we were, they
Well,
have.
hopefully a change will happen.
That, I think, as far as what Christina's saying, it's intra-departmental,
Sure.
as far as that administration of it,
Sure.
more than select board. So it is feasible.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so what? Who are we making leads?
Recreation.
Recreation.
Yeah,
Youth
I
and
actually,
family
I think
services.
that's, I appreciate what's saying about organization-wise in an ideal setting. What has happened in the last 18 months, because we were hitting the mark so lowly, the select board gets immediately
Yeah,
dragged
yeah.
in. And this is like the same stuff with the school and the mold and stuff like this.
Well, you know,
Yeah.
but
And I
think
appreciate
rec and
that.
and I think the town councilor, and I also think we should say schools, and you know, the town councilor, in the past anyway, has developed lots of programs with the schools.
Hello, welcome.
Hi. I wasn't sure when I was supposed to join. We were on the docket tonight to apply for a common vic license, so I don't know if it's.
Oh, I think you're
Wrong
the wrong
meeting.
meeting, sweetheart. But yeah, you want the select board. We're the local planning committee.
All right. Well, listen. Great meeting all of you.
Good to see you. Godspeed. I don't feel strong. This is one thing I feel strongly about, that we actually hang a lot of high efficiency in the town on this,
Yeah.
and not just let the groups that are like with implementing as the touchstone on this.
Can I ask, because I don't,
Yeah.
what prohibited the programming being within the department so that it had to get to the select board?
It has to do with funding. It has to do with some very nuanced, it's not appropriate, it's like HR issues. This is literally administration of the town and sort of core functioning of the town.
It also had to do with the Recreation and Youth Commission focus.
So
Sure.
can
Sure.
the town?
It just wasn't on kids.
as opposed to the individual department, can that be
What are
on the
these
town manager?
But
Anyway.
just who's the, whether we say select board is a lead on it.
Now, has anybody ever heard the term RACI? RACI?
Educate us.
Okay, it's when you come to initiatives and programs, you identify who's responsible, who's accountable, who is consulted, and who's informed. So we may want to think about, I mean, I come from a place where
Yeah.
you really, for ownership, you need single throat to choke, right? You need to be able to go to one person, not six.
That's
So
why I'm
that's
saying the select
responsible.
board here.
Right,
Yeah.
so that's
Yeah.
responsible,
That's
but I
why I'm
like
saying this.
identifying all these other organizations
Yes,
as
yes.
their
Yes.
part of the process.
Yes. So that's why they should all be there. And the
Okay.
select
And
board
we
should
may be able to come
Yeah.
back
Yeah.
against all of these things and say, in a racing model, who's the single throat and who's very tightly.
So is the consensus
We're gonna
to,
choose.
So,
I think
Right.
the consensus is to put the select board on. No
yeah,
one-
that's fine.
Yeah.
It's my private sector.
But I understand we're stepping out of
Some
line
single throat
intellectually,
to
how, like your point, Christine, of like, well, you serve at the, discretion of the select board, but this is kind of a unique.
Brian, the
Yes.
R is for,
Responsible. Who
Responsible.
is ultimately responsible? Who would you go to find out the
this is a
status of
guidance,
completion?
it is a
and the
guidance
I,
document to keep that. It's not
Informed.
literal.
So that's somebody that you just send a communication
I just
out
don't
to.
want to let them off the hook.
I-
Like,
No, I hear you.
in this
We
document.
got it. But what I'm saying is, there's room in a couple of columns for identifying all
Yeah,
the organizations.
Yeah.
Could-
They don't want to be left off the hook. All right,
Okay,
I
so
don't want to
we-
suck up
So
all the
probably
time
when
on
you have
this.
two people leading,
Moving
then
on.
nobody
Because
leads.
it is as far as,
That's the rule.
because
That's
we're
where it
really
comes from.
taking, launching from the point that it did have to
Correct.
bring in. So let's not lose that.
No, I don't-
And so we don't want to go backwards. Maybe that's it.
Right.
Yeah, okay. All right. Last one, in cultural heritage, develop a land clearing bylaw. Wow. That includes protection of architectural resources and assets from archaeological resources and assets from alteration and relocation. I looked back to there was something similar in the natural systems. I initially said impact 4, feasibility 1.
Bernadette had 4 and 2.
And this is in practice is this, for me to understand, I'm looking at the SMEs, is this like historically significant buildings or what's the
No,
archaeology?
archaeological resources is below ground. That's why I'm trying to figure out where this even came from and the purpose of it.
It's actually kind of stems from the regional policy plan.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
that's, they have under cultural or
Indian
historic
heads,
resources,
et cetera.
archaeological
Middens,
resources.
and,
And usually, one way this is enacted or enforced is through wetlands bylaws. Brewster, I think it's triggered by, in their wetlands bylaw. Because it's more likely that they'll be found toward, around ponds, water
yeah,
bodies.
yeah.
So,
And technically, the town commission that's responsible for the archaeological resources is the historical commission. Interestingly enough, under state law, they're the only public body that can seal their files to prevent people going out
They should.
and
That's,
marauding.
that's,
Yeah,
that's in every state.
yeah.
Here's my heartburn about this, of all people here, is that by doing this, you're negating the use of private property, even though you may provide mitigation, which if you're at a federal or state project, you could go ahead and do an investigation and see everything there and do the analysis, et cetera, and then move on with the project. The way I'm reading this is that you can't even do that. Is that if you find a midden or you find something else on your land, you can't do anything with it. And that's why would a local bylaw or be in conflict with federal state?
I thought if you don't disrupt the underneath, like if a mitten or something was found, you could build over it, but you can't go
That
beneath.
means you can't put a basement in or
You
anything
can't,
like
yeah,
that.
you wouldn't be able to
Right.
dig.
And some of the stuff here is, only a couple, 3 feet below surface. So You know,
Yeah.
you're not gonna get stopped from building a road or a sidewalk with all of that. So why is Harwich, why are we gonna have a local bylaw that's stricter than what the state or feds would do? I mean,
I would say
inform
that-
me, please, because I just, I don't
would say that it's
understand.
a great idea and it'll never happen. You know, seriously, I mean, I
So
just.
Yeah.
is it like a 3 and a 1 kind of situation?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just not, except for the commission, which on larger projects really doesn't look seriously at this. And the tribe, you know, gets involved if there's state, you know, review under MIPA and that kind of stuff. They're very interested in protecting the archaeological resources, but I mean, the Conservation Commission, it could come up there, but you know, I think realistically to have, I don't think there'll be political support for doing this. That's what I think.
Right.
I started out at 2 and 2. I could go to 3, but I would also go to 1 on
Or
feasibility.
2 and 1? I
No,
don't feel
two.
strongly about it.
3 and 1 maybe.
I think, I originally had 4 and 1. I do agree that the feasibility, there's too much opposition, and also as far as having the resources to actually do it. Just because it includes land clearing, I put as impact as far as 4 because it goes with that universal development type of thing. But everyone, do we have a consensus on 3 and 1 or 3 and 2?
3 and 1.
3 and 1.
3 and 1.
3 and 1. All right, moving on to economy. Seek technical assistance from Cape Cod Commission and Commonwealth of Massachusetts to develop master plans to support economic development in Harwich's village centers. I think the impact, anything to do with impact, it has to be at least a 3, but I don't know if the resources are there, so I put a feasibility of 2 to take on this task. A master
Was
plan.
it 2 and 3? 2 impact, 3 feasibility.
Bernadette had a 3 and 3.
Okay, we have consensus on impact of 3.
I'll still say 2.
Yeah.
I'd say 2.
I think, yeah, I do.
2?
I agree, 2.
2 is the consensus on impact, and feasibility, would you say 3 or 2?
2 or 1.
I think it seems like economic development here happens just, you know, it's market driven.
2.
Yes.
Opportunity driven.
So we have a consensus on 2 and 2, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Number 2, conduct a build-out analysis of vacant industrially zoned land for its remaining development potential. So do we have staff on board to do this analysis? That's my thinking. Impact I have as a 3 and feasibility as a 4. And this is just simply an analysis to know what's out there.
I don't think it's all that important. I would start with a 2 under impact.
Yeah, I would too.
And feasibility, you could do it. It would cost a little bit of money. 2 or 3. I wrote down 3.
Okay. 2 and 3 is what we're hearing.
2 and 3 is it. Next. Oh, do we need to add any leads on any of these that I'm just passing over?
Planning on several of these since they're, no, well, just kind of.
No, you're right. I think
These are
yeah.
planning things.
yeah.
These are planning things.
Cape Cod
Okay.
Commission and like the Chamber of Commerce for kind of doing some of the economic development promotions.
Okay.
But on the planning, you know, a lot of that will also be dictated by some of the infrastructure
If we
and
do that for vacant land, we
demands.
should be doing it for residential land too, to find out when we hit build-out.
We are on the 3rd bullet under economy. Review existing zoning for potential amendments to encourage adaptive reuse and redevelopment of commercial property, including dimensional and/or parking relief for mixed-use development. I have impact as 3, feasibility as 4.
Bernadette had 4 and 3.
I had 3 and 3.
3 and 3.
Do we have a consensus on 3 and 3?
And 3 sounds
I
fun.
think so, yeah.
That will be planning department.
We're gonna keep you busy for a
Yeah.
good long time.
Job security, it's a good thing.
You're offering that up quieter and quieter.
I'm sorry, Brian, what was that again?
Okay, 4th bullet point, work with Cape Cod Regional Transit Authority to establish and promote a seasonal shuttle service with connections to beaches and cultural activities. I have impact 4, it's what the community is asking
Right,
for.
I agree. Community did this. Mhm.
And feasibility, I think it's a 3. It shouldn't be that bad.
Bernadette had 3 and 2.
Feasibility, I think you're gonna get pushback from locals.
Or,
They're gonna tell you that people don't wanna go park at the 204 and get on a shuttle bus to go to Bank Street Beach.
But it's better than not having parking. Or parking.
Like if you
on
could
the-
get to
That's
Bank
not
Street
my-
Beach.
No, yeah, no, I hear you.
I'll just note that this is another one I marked as duplicate because of what's written in
No
transportation.
transportation.
Okay, so, but,
So what do we
I mean,
say?
you're creating a feasibility just to say, I think probably the impact is 4, right? But the feasibility, you're talking about creating a whole new way people move around
Right.
Harwich. It seems pretty hard to.
yeah, I don't know that it's a 2 or a 1. I'd say it's still 3.
I think it's really hard to do that.
Funding, and I don't know,
The-
those of you who are plugged more into.
As far as the feasibility challenges, the description, the 2 is challenges exist and solutions passed with additional funding, policy changes, and external partnerships. 3, some barriers, funding, staffing, but it can be achieved with current municipal capabilities and external
I don't think
support.
we have the current municipal capabilities, do we?
to,
To start a shuttle service to like
No.
the
No,
bus.
we don't.
So
That's a
it's
whole other-
So it becomes a 4 and a 2.
well,
No,
you work with the
Or-
Regional
or-
Transit Authority and they've set up shuttles.
Mhm.
They have a shuttle up in Provincetown. one
Okay,
in,
so is it 3 in terms of feasibility or 2?
What do you think, Ed?
Probably 2, yeah.
Okay.
You know, but,
4 and 2,
Four.
okay.
4 and 2?
yeah.
Consensus, 4 and 2.
And it's what they've set up are systems that are not just shuttling from a identifying outlying parking area to it. It's a
Like a
system.
trolley.
It's
Yeah.
a system that picks
Yeah.
people up,
Yeah.
you know, along Lower County,
Just
you know.
constant loop.
It's
Yeah.
a trolley, yeah.
Yeah.
You're going quick trolley.
Yeah.
I can see it working.
Yeah, no, the impact would be,
Stop
Profound.
at Coldbrook,
Yeah.
stop at
Yeah.
Bank Street,
Yeah.
just loop,
onwards.
And then,
and name it the LCP.
The last bullet under economy, pursue infrastructure enhancements, particularly in village centers to support economic development. I said 4 and 3.
Bernadette said 4 and 2.
I said 3 and 2.
No, I was just, I heard the first part of it.
I'm sorry, David, I didn't hear.
3 and 2.
That's what I've got.
Yeah, I would have said
3 and
4,
2.
4, I would have said higher value, but
I could get moved to 4 on this one.
I would say 4 and 2.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm with that.
4 and 2.
I agree.
Sure,
I'm okay with 4 and 2. The consensus is 4 and 2.
could even kind of help your economic
Well, I
development
think
if you
it
get
gives-
more people to buy coffee in Harwichport on the shuttle, right, on the trolley, they're called the trolley.
But it gives credence to
Yeah,
But the
doing
cups
more
end
for
up
the
in my front
villages.
yard. Like their little nips.
So the infrastructure enhancements, would that be with the Water and Wastewater Commission and DPW? For the people in,
I don't
for the
get it.
leads?
Water and wastewater?
Yeah, for infrastructure.
How about for
And-
roadway infrastructure?
Yeah, for
Roadways,
DPW
sidewalks.
and then planning.
Expensive way to be an alcoholic.
It's just seems like such hard work.
What's that? The,
It's an aside, let's not get distracted.
Moving on to our favorite under community systems is housing.
Since I was so involved in this, I apologize for 3 pages worth of this stuff. I think it's a very important area.
It's the issue of the decade, yep.
All right, first one. Adopt the seasonal community designation under the Massachusetts Affordable Homes Act. I said 4 and 4. I think it's impact, anything to do with housing and feasibility.
I think we can do it pretty easily, can't we?
I went the wrong way. Yeah, no,
Isn't
highly
it-
feasible.
There was some questions about whether we.
I thought we
There were
automatically
some
fit it.
issues that if you adopt the seasonal communities, 2 things. You automatically have to allow tiny homes in your zoning, and that really affronts any water quality issues that
That's why I was
especially
at
for the Cape and
3
the
on
Islands.
that.
I think that's.
For
I'm a little
feasibility.
bit surprised with that caveat, and then there was one other caveat, that in order to, if a town does adopt it, you have to allow something, another item.
siting of houses on small lots and
Yes, small.
putting
Just
together
little
small.
questions like
yeah.
that, push it into a 3 for me.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree,
I agree.
I agree,
I
I
didn't think
agree.
it had
4
those
and 3
restrictions.
is what we
No, a
have.
3 and
No,
a
three.
3 and
3 and 3?
4, or 3
I
and
thought it
3?
was
Wait a minute.
4-3.
I thought it was 4-3.
Feasibility, I'm saying is 3.
Right.
Yes.
I haven't expressed an opinion.
Impact should be high.
Impact I had is 4. Do we have impact
What
4?
did you
But
think?
is it, we're getting into, is it an impact we want, is what
Yeah.
Christine is
Yeah,
saying.
yeah.
Like
So I think
tiny
it
homes from
becomes,
Amazon?
it
that they're
becomes
selling?
more of a 3 and 3 in the sense of, she's talking about, it would have some, it would adversely affect some of our water
Ah.
If there's-
potentially.
Well, no.
No.
But I
Okay.
thought there's
Not-
benefits.
not
I thought
necessarily.
there's more
I mean,
benefits
you know,
coming with it.
Okay.
The weird thing is the way that the state has defined tiny homes in their in state rules, which means that the home is limited on how big it is. It needs to be able to be moved across the Commonwealth's road network, i.e.,
Okay.
it's in essence a trailer. But
Yeah.
if you site it as a tiny home, it then needs to be hooked up to some sort of septic or
Yeah.
sewer system.
Excuse me.
Bless you.
So it would have no more impact than an ADU that somebody built in their backyard.
The idea is that the seasonal home designation would give us a lot of tools.
Yes, it
That
would
pushes
open.
it into a 4.
Okay, so
But
we're
the
at
little
4,
wrinkle-
we're at
the
4
little
and 3.
wrinkles-
It opens up funding,
Sure.
It
different
does. There
funding,
are
and
positives.
a variety of things.
We don't need a bunch of tiny homes sitting on people's property though. Is that-
Yeah,
I mean, is that really what we want? I mean, fighting for the ADU, but the
Yeah.
ADU has specific things. I mean, do we want to go call Amazon and send a $6,000 tiny home and stick it on everybody's lot? Is the question. I mean, is that what they're saying? Is you can just put a tiny home
We don't know,
anywhere?
it's not abundantly clear. It was
Yeah.
it was sort of an aside comment that they wanted
That's in,
these 2 items. When the Secretary of the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities came down to explain the seasonal communities, that was part of his presentation, but they didn't provide a lot of follow-up
Yeah.
information regarding what specifically were they looking
So it sounds like 4 and 3 in the
4 and
sense of.
3.
Yeah.
4-3.
If Harwich
And-
isn't,
Yeah, and it's-
Do we want this to say adopt without knowing what the
How about
impacts are?
investigate?
Consider.
I was gonna say evaluate
there you go.
adoption of the
I
seasonal.
like the word evaluate,
Well, then
yes.
you can go to a 4 if you change that word.
Yeah. I
4 and
would-
4, sure.
Okay, evaluate
This
the.
is,
Got that, Sharon?
Well, yes and no. For some reason, my version of this whole section seems to be different than yours, and I'm just looking to see if there's an older version, because my version starts with something completely different.
This was, it was what David did, we're working through what David came up with.
Yeah,
at the
but then
last
Mary
meeting.
put it all together.
For the last meeting, I took your housing comments and threw it into this
Okay.
It's
spreadsheet.
not,
Okay.
it's not in my spreadsheet.
Okay, so we need to,
Did you do this?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't,
yes.
then I don't have that. So
Can we give
my
it to you?
order- Yeah.
Yeah.
So what was this, but
Okay, the
like,
one,
how can I keep track of?
Do we have an extra paper copy?
You know, you could do that,
Yep.
We'll send
yeah.
it to you.
Just for this particular section,
Okay.
it doesn't match
Oh,
up
yeah,
yeah.
there it is. It's,
housing.
On the first one.
but
So consider is what
on the
Consider
page,
the
Evaluate
adoption
the
of.
adoption.
evaluate the adoption of.
Yeah,
Nice.
evaluate
So-
benefits.
just before we move off, though, of the 7 towns on Cape Cod that by right qualify to be considered a seasonal community, there's 7 of them, and Harwich is the only one of the 7 that hasn't put it on their warrant this year.
Has not put it on.
Has not. All others,
So only
6
7 out
towns.
of
Everywhere
15?
from us going outwards to Provincetown?
Well, you know, there's
And-
nothing wrong with sometimes being second, not
Yeah.
first.
All 6 of the vineyard towns have put it on their warrant, as well as Nantucket.
I don't know if they've been told about the
That sounds
caveats on the
Is
tax.
that it?
Well,
Never mind.
no.
Hold this.
Harwich is unique, so we've changed it to evaluate and.
well, I'm just
Four and
about
four.
to, as soon as the
4 and
discussion's
4 and
over,
4.
I'm
4 and
gonna
4 with
say
new
it.
language.
Next.
Onwards.
Okay, just because I can't understand, we changed the first bullet to evaluate the seasonal community designation, and we have a 4 and 3 ranking.
4 and 4.
No.
4 and 4.
4 and 4
And it's
ranking.
evaluate the adoption of.
Evaluate adoption of the
Godspeed.
seasonal.
Thank you,
I
Ed.
gotta go next door and
Thank you for your good
Okay.
work.
fight over the middle
That's
school.
good. That's why I gave you a 4 and 4. So that's one thing I feel strongly about. Thank you, Ed, for doing
Thank you.
it. 4 and 4 with the new language.
Okay.
Onwards.
Now,
Thanks,
the
Ed.
second one,
We appreciate you, Ed. Keep up the good fight.
bye Ed. Move forward on the 456 Queen Anne Road project under the guidance of the Harwich Affordable Housing Trust. I put a 4 and 2.
Oh, I think it's a 4 and 4.
I think it's a 4 and 4.
I think that's
Okay.
gotta happen. It's,
Okay, next.
is everyone okay with that? Yeah? I said 3 and 3, but
Who is the leadership on that, select board?
no, it's the
Or
trust.
planning board?
Trust. Trust.
Trust.
AHT.
Yeah, it's the trust. 4 and 4. I think that's
The
a.
first
Who's
two
on the one
bullets are
above?
4 and
This-
4.
Who does the first one?
Planning,
What?
I'm sorry, what?
the seasonal community designation, right?
It's 4 and 4.
Planning. Nice.
Planning.
Nice. And we appreciate.
I'm not gonna fight this, I'm just going to embrace it.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
come on,
And
bring it on, bring it on.
We appreciate you being a thoughtful consumer about
Know
it.
that there's room to move these things
A
around.
thoughtful.
No, there is.
And when she leaves, it doesn't leave a forwarding
try.
address?
All right, we're gonna move on to the third bullet point.
Yeah, third, onwards.
All right.
Okay, third one.
Collaborate with existing local and regional groups to conduct public forums educating the general public on what affordable and attainable housing is and why it is important. I'm all for education. I'm a 4 and 4 on this one.
Yeah, I agree.
Bernadette was a 2 and 4.
I was a 3 and 3.
I just,
Two,
I was gonna say 3. Impact 2.
impact,
I don't think it has a big impact, to tell you the truth.
Impact is 2 or 3. Probably 3 because we had some 4s in there. So I think we
Sure.
settle on the
Let's
3.
go to
Sure.
3.
Impact 3.
Feasibility should be a 4.
It's pretty
It's
easy, yeah.
education, yeah.
Okay, we have the consensus for 3 and 4
Sure.
on the third bullet point. Moving forward,
Who
And
does it?
that will be the housing coordinator, the housing advocate.
Love it.
Good,
The
good, good.
Love it.
trust.
Love it.
And maybe my department, but also there is the Cape Cod Commission's Regional Services Office.
Love it.
And the
Love-
Lower Cape Cod Lower Cape Cod Partnership or Community Development Partnership,
It feels
CDP.
It feels consistent with me, to me, that it's within the scope of practice of like the housing advocate to educate the community.
Mhm. Yes.
I'm jamming on that. That's
I like
why I
that.
was like really grumpy about the school stuff because it's not within the scope of practice of the community.
What I like is that from that racy standpoint, so
Yes,
responsible,
yes,
it's
yes.
the housing advocate.
Yes.
And then
yes,
who their
yes,
consultant
Yes. Yes.
is.
Yes.
All right, fourth bullet point, moving forward. Review, evaluate, and consider revising the two-family, multifamily, and mixed-use zoning bylaw, our favorite words, with the aim to incentivize density development opportunities as appropriate in exchange for affordable and attainable housing. I'm a 4 on impact and a 3 on feasibility.
That's what I had.
Bernadette had 4 and 2.
4 and 2.
I'm okay with 4 and 3.
I think it involves some
That's fine.
town work, but I think it's eminently doable.
That's
4 and 3.
4 and 3 is fine.
4 and 3 is it.
I also think the current proposal for the schoolhouse project is the exact reason why this needs to be done. That's what, 28 with no affordable units? 28 units, none of which are affordable, I think.
Well, and
Correct.
what are we getting this right? Because you've educated me around the terms. Is the phrasing of that correct around inclusionary zoning? You use that term. Are we getting that right in this?
This is not inclusionary, this does not say inclusionary zoning.
Or should it? Is what I'm
No,
saying.
it should not, that's a separate point.
Inclusionary would be separate, and
Okay.
and I
So
think
make sure we're doing it
inclusionary
right.
is going to be a much harder sell. I think if we can incentivize some of the density in exchange for affordable and attainable, I think that would be an easier sell at town meeting. I'm not sure, because right now the regulations don't require those restrictions, and I don't know. You know, it would really be up to. It would be a heavy. I think a heavy push to get 2/3 majority vote at town meeting
For
to-
inclusionary.
for inclusionary.
So this is more doable for you. So what are we? What
I think it might be an easier. I think you can get a greater consensus from developers and town advocates and community members.
Okay. So this becomes a 4 and a. What did you say, David? 4 and a 3. Okay.
4 and a 3, and we have a lead on this.
Town planner.
And we're moving on. Encourage conversions and infill development in developed areas, including village centers and along Route 28. Changes from commercial to residential use and increases in residential density may be permitted subject to considerations of infrastructure, environmental sensitive areas, and community character. I'm a little low on the impact on that with 3 and the feasibility at 2.
I was 3 and 3.
I was 3 and 3.
3 and 3. Okay with that.
Okay.
Bernadette was 4 and 2.
Then we kind of come out probably 3 and 3.
3 and 3.
It's what people wanted.
Right.
Yeah, they asked us to.
So we're doing a 3 and 3 on that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that will be the planning department as well.
Next, encourage affordable and attainable housing by thoughtful design that is compatible with community character for each of Harwich's separate villages as mentioned in the community design section.
Duplicate belongs elsewhere.
I think the impact is a 4. With the feasibility, truthfully, I'm going to say a 2 as far as feasibility. But does everyone want to say 3? I'll change it to 3.
I don't think it should be here.
Could we score it anyway
Can
and
we
put it
score it
somewhere
and move
else? What did you think, Margaret?
I said 3 and 2.
3 and 2.
Okay.
Okay, what's the
3 and 2.
3 and 2.
Good
3
with
and
that,
2?
David?
David would.
I'm
Three
gonna stick,
score,
I'm
'cause
gonna
it's-
stick with my comment.
All right, you just want it somewhere else.
I'm
All
a
right.
stubborn
Okay.
SOB.
Okay, we have 3 and 2.
Somewhere else. What would it look like?
News to me.
Very male.
I hadn't noticed in 25 years.
One track.
But I can laugh at it.
Can't laugh at ourselves, we're screwed.
You're not kidding.
The next
Can
one
we
down.
put the implementation committee on this as well? I keep on forgetting you guys are going to sign up for a second tier.
See, there are options.
Yeah, Christine's committee.
So you're suggesting we need to start the new, planning on the new plan already?
All right, next one.
All right, next
Always
one.
available at Roots for discussions.
Prioritize and incentivize the adaptive reuse of existing buildings for attainable and affordable housing. I'm all for incentives. I put a 4 impact, but feasibility, I'm going to say 2.
Go to the planners on this.
I think it could be a 3.
I said 3 and a 3.
That's what I had.
Bernadette had 3 and 2.
Oh, I think we're probably 3 and 3 and
3 and 3 you want?
3.
Split it?
sure.
What do we have, 3 and 1?
3 and 3.
3 and 3. Well, I'm batting 1,000 on my scores here. All right. Maximize opportunities to use accessory dwelling units. Review financial barriers to such use. Does that go hand in hand with that seasonal community designation? Not at all? Okay.
No, the ADU bylaws, the town of Harwich had already allowed accessory dwelling
Right.
units by right. We are modifying it slightly at town meeting to be in line with the state's definition, and then also to allow a second opt-in, special opt-in accessory apartment up to 1,000 square feet by
Right.
special permit through the planning board.
Do you have any sense how many ADUs there were, say, last year?
So in 2023, since 2023, when the town adopted it as a matter of right, there have been 18 permits. 10 of them have been under 900 square feet. 8 of them were over 900 square feet, and five of them needed ZBA approval for a pre-existing non-conforming aspect and dimensional waiver and dimensional variance.
Is that a
And
hurdle
2
that makes
have been
sense?
issued a certificate of occupancy. What's that?
Is a zoning board hurdle something that makes sense, given the concept of the ADUs?
Well, under the new protected use, the zoning board of appeals can't issue a waiver, or are not required to issue an actual vote on the dimensional variance. What they can do is vote by a simple majority, but because of the protected use under Chapter 48, Section 3, the state law trumps the zoning.
Ridiculous.
Okay.
Okay. So
I'm sorry, there's a long.
because
Long
of that,
explanation.
I said impact is 4. Feasibility should be fairly easy. I put,
I don't understand the financing barriers. It's gonna-
Somebody brought that up. That's why
I think it's the sewer, that's a financial barrier, I think a big one for
No.
putting an ADU out there.
To create an ADU, you hear costs, anywhere from over $100,000 up to over $200,000. And I think for people to renovate their house or to be able to afford to stay in their house, there are some programs that are targeting, that want to incentivize homeowners to create an ADU for a year-round rental, but they're willing to finance it, but the financing is income free. You have to restrict the unit to like a year-round or someone who's income certified.
My thinking has changed on this. I used to think the ADUs were a nice concept, but a drop in the bucket. But with the numbers you just quoted as to how many were actually permitted or applied for last year, I'm moving it up in my thinking. So I don't go to a 4, but I would say a 3 for impact. And it shouldn't be very hard to do.
Bernadette had 2 and 3.
Can we do a numbers rating again, please?
So what did you say, David, 3 and 3?
Yeah.
Do we have 3 and 2? I had 4 and 2, we're okay with 3 and 2.
I thought it was 3 and 3. 3 and 3, I think.
3 and 3.
3 and 3. A lot of these in housing so far have been 4 and 3s all the way through.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, some of them,
Should.
on impact, it's been a mix of 4s and 3s. Feasibility, the same.
So
There's
we
only
have,
1, 2 so far.
okay, 4 and 3 on that.
3 and 3.
I'm sorry, 3 and 3. Thank you.
Just FYI for the time, we're doing great. It's 6:36. In 14 minutes, I'm going to stop us just for a few little things, housekeeping things. That's intel.
I think we can push through.
Doing
If we-
amazing.
I think we can keep
Mary,
and finish this.
We need to have you at
We're
town
leading
meeting,
us,
woman.
Mary.
All right. All right.
On fire.
Here, the third to the last bullet on the first page. Consider programs and regulatory amendments to allow for support seasonal workforce housing. I think the impact is going to be a 3. Feasibility is a 1.
Bernadette had 3 and 2.
I think it's a very important thing to do, but it only affects a portion of our population, so I'm a 3 for impact instead of 4.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I would agree
For
with that.
feasibility,
And it may not move us where we necessarily want as a community. It's
Right.
nuanced.
Absolutely doesn't.
It's nuanced. Yeah.
But
Your
it impacts
transient
businesses,
workforce.
which impacts the community.
Yeah. But that's why it's not
Well,
a 4 for
that's
me.
why, yeah, same with me.
Yeah, it's a 3.
I think it's very
Yeah.
feasible, so I'm
and
hearing a
three?
lot of 2s, but I'm
3 and
personally
3,
a 3.
3 and 3?
I know
3 and
that's
3?
boring and there were so many 3s in housing.
But
but-
that's okay.
Do you want to do it with a low impact? Because low impact says it serves only a small portion of the
But I think
population.
that's directly. I would argue that indirectly it serves a
Yeah.
wide community.
No, I agree.
It does. It's sustaining a lot of businesses that need
Yes.
workforce housing, and otherwise those businesses can't operate.
No, and then there's downstream availability, right? Like if you have people that are, yes, so, yeah. 3
So we have a consensus of 3 and
Right.
3.
3.
Business community might say 4.
3 and 3. Did I hear?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Next, foster relationships with experienced nonprofit and for-profit developers to secure sources of public and private financing and to create new affordable and attainable housing units.
I think that goes hand in hand with the one we just did.
Yes, I think it's going to be, now I've changed my numbers on this, I think it's going to be a 3 and 3 for
I
me.
think it's a 3 and a 1.
Foster relationships.
We're finally splitting. I'm at a 4 and a 3 on this one.
Okay.
Yeah,
Bernadette had 3 and 3.
So the 2 things that come to mind for just to stimulate discussion is if you consider what's going on in West Harwich, and I'm agnostic about that, if that's a personal, and town and developer relationship and thing. And I mean the schoolhouse. And then the other thing that comes to mind, just to pull from the headlines, is the repurposing right here at Harwich Center with the new apartments coming online, which I was impressed by. I'm sure it was not under your radar. It was a little bit under my radar in the sense of then the public the article announcing them being open is that we are accepting,
All payments.
all
forms of
payment, and I was
payments.
like, whoa, well, hey, I don't know what that means in practice, like how that, but
The one's unparalleled. Street.
yeah, right.
Right, the Royal.
I was
Oh,
like, oh
used to be
wow,
Royal.
that's not what I was expecting in terms of a public statement, but all of a sudden you have more housing stock in 1, 2, and 3 bedroom apartments, in our walkable center. I'm like, what did we do to deserve this?
But it's fair market. It's,
Yeah. But they were verbal about accepting like housing
Section 8
vouchers, Section 8,
okay.
and things
No,
like
that's
that.
great. That's
Yeah,
perfect.
it was in the
I didn't see
Chronicle.
that article.
It was in
Yeah.
the Chronicle. I was like,
Yeah.
what? Wow. Okay. So, and there's the market doing it. So I don't know if that changes or influences this discussion at all.
That influences me.
That's a good
I put it
example.
to 4. I mean, to me, to foster the relationships with that kind of outcome,
But the problem is that it's still not creating affordable and attainable housing units. I mean, they may take Section 8 housing, which is better than some of them do. I'm not arguing that, but it's still not. It's still not fixing. or
It's
helping
creating
fix the
some sort of
problem.
supply
You're
issues.
never going to fix the problem, but I think it's better.
Creating
than
supply.
But I
So,
think it pays attention to the
Yeah.
importance of these relationships.
so the impact is 4?
I think it is.
Okay.
I've always felt that for the lowest income category, that we need public subsidies and probably some private developers. But there has to be a lot of public deed restrictions, a whole bunch of things. But when you get into the attainable category, I think you got to involve private developers and the incentivizing package rather than the town subsidy package. to do that, you have to have relationships with developers.
That's why I give those two examples.
Yes, I agree with that
I
relationship.
don't know,
So what numbers?
Do we have 4 and 2 or 4 and 3?
or 3 and 3?
4 and 3.
4 and 3?
I like the 4 definitely on the impact personally.
Bernadette had 3 and 3.
All right, so 4 and 3.
We'll do 4 and 3 on that rating. The final bullet on this page, increase funding resources for rental assistance programs such as rental vouchers, review marketing efforts, education, administration of such programs. I put a 2 and 2 on this one.
Okay, I was 33, but I can do that.
No, it's right.
On the last bullet point, do we have a 2 and 2 consensus?
The 2 and 2, Bernadette.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are these all planning? Are these all your?
No, it's okay.
Are these all of
Some
these?
them is a housing.
I
Are they
had
all
only
planning?
one that
Who's the
was,
lead?
2 that were housing trust.
Oh, you
No.
want to hit any,
What are they?
From
From this point on down, from encourage on down, are they on
For
planning?
the foster relationships, it's a planning and,
oh, but can we do the trust and stuff?
no,
on that?
it's,
Yeah.
it is the trust, because the
Yes.
trust has been working really closely with, John Kerry
Yes,
on the,
yes, yes.
on the
Schoolhouse.
schoolhouse
Yes,
project,
yes.
as well as the Firemen's Association on
Yes,
Bank Street.
yes,
So,
yes.
those are great examples. And
others would be
for maximizing opportunity for financing ADUs, I would also put the Capes Lower Capes Community Development Corporation. They've been really advocating and looking for ways to finance towns to promote ADUs. And the Cape Cod Commission, their regional services, housing, their regional services that's being sponsored through the Cape Cod Commission as well as the Barnstable County Commission, I think. They're also looking for a lot of grant funding to help towns and assist with these programs.
Okay, so that one, this is the next to the last page, and last page only has 2, so we can push through.
We can do it, guys.
Okay. Provide funding resources to support housing rehabilitation programs such as Community Development Block Grant, Tri-Housing Rehabilitation Program for income qualifying homeowners that are unable to make necessary but critical repairs, etc. I put 3 and 1.
Well, I put 3 and 3, although in the current political climate, 1 seems like the right answer. I guess I'm hoping that it's
Well, we do
not
have
going to stay that way.
We have a 5-year plan, so that gives us 1 year
Yes.
at the end to do something.
So, and the strange, we've mentioned this before, the strange thing is that there's a private group that exists. What is it? The Folgers, the coffee guy, Sanford guy. There's a Harwich fund that exists that Brian may know about, that administers, that tries to help people stay in their homes for repairs around this, and it's privately
Brian, what's
administered.
yours on this
Yeah.
one? What are your ratings?
It's not publicly administered, it's privately administered.
I would think the impact is a 3.
Feasibility?
I think it's a 3.
Yeah, that's what I
I think
had.
it's
Yeah,
3.
Bernadette had 3 and 3.
3 and 3 is it?
Yep.
Okay, moving on. Support creative funding and collaborative partnerships through public and private areas in the development of affordable and attainable housing, including subsidies for permanently restricted rental units. I said 3 and 3 on that.
I say gobbledygook language just repeats something that's already been covered.
Isn't that what you just
Listen,
said?
I put the gobbledygook language in.
That's why I must have felt it.
I'm sorry,
One of your
Christine.
own calling you out.
Taking my
I
football
should
home.
recognize. Yeah, the next one I didn't like either for the language.
I didn't like any mine. They were just like, all right, this is too.
But we do get the concept of what the gobbledygook says, so what's our rating on it?
Good there.
I have to give it a 4 and 4 now.
I'm sticking with 3 and 3.
Humor
3 and 3.
All right.
Yeah.
And the next gobble is explore potential housing programs, opportunities, funding for the 81, all those percentages of 200% area median income, AMI. I put 4 and 4.
Bernadette hit 3 and 3.
Yeah, I think
I
the
put
impact
two
is
in.
certainly 4, to me.
Just exploring potential housing programs. I mean, does that really?
Well, it
is
leaves
that-
us
is that
open
big
for
impact?
what's coming down
Well,
the
it's
pipeline,
for the
right?
attainable housing, and this is the first time
Yeah.
in decades that the Commonwealth is finally
Right.
is recognizing the housing needs for the missing middle, or however you want to define it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Teacher, firefighter, however, yeah.
I think it's got to be a 4 for impact.
Okay,
You're seeing what's maybe coming down the pipe.
And my comment is directly for Chris. I put down rewrite.
Okay.
I didn't think it was clear the way it was written.
No, that's fine.
so
Four
the
and
Number 4 and what?
ranking and the feasibility, I had 4 and 4, but
Yeah.
what does everyone
Yeah,
else have?
For exploring,
Bernadette
yeah.
had 3 and 3.
I'm okay with 3 or 4.
I would go with 3.
Okay.
4 and 3.
4 and 3 is
4 and
it?
3.
Okay. Next, evaluate the use of town-owned properties for creative housing solutions, including reuse of town-owned buildings. And then it actually gives the examples.
Yeah.
I did a 4 and 3.
Yeah, but that's already affordable.
I did a 2 and 3.
I did a 2 and 3 too.
Okay, 2 and
It's not-
3 is
there
it?
aren't that many of them, but-
Yeah. that was
We don't
good.
have that many,
It's a
okay.
nit.
Okay.
We have 2 for impact and 3 for feasibility.
Yep.
Moving on, work with Harwich Assessing Office and Real Estate and Open Space Committee to develop an inventory of public available land that could be suitable for affordable housing. I gave that a 4 and 4 because of who you're working with in here. And again, anything that provides an assessment, I think it's doable. And it does allow everybody to know where we stand. That's how I think about those types of analysis.
I
I'm a
think
4 and 4 on that.
Since you and I are not agreeing much on this, I think it's already been done at least once, maybe
Yeah.
twice.
Yeah.
Bernadette
So I
put
was
2
down
and
at
2.
a 2.
I
Okay.
was down to 2 too.
Sure.
And that's
But then
information I
moved it
did
up
not
to
know.
3 for the
That's why we
feasibility.
need us all.
Yep,
So we're doing a 2 and 3 on that one.
So that-
yep.
Okay. I didn't rate this next one. Probably I didn't understand it. Right. Ensure that all affordable units, current and future, remain part of the subsidized
That's it.
SHI.
This is very important.
That's
It
an-
is.
it's
This
an
is
admin-
this
it's an
is a Mike
administrative thing.
McCaskill thing. He was really pointed this out when we did the housing production plan.
Would
So-
you have Margot?
I had a 3, but I would go with 4.
I'd go with a 4.
Yeah.
And I,
4
I,
and 4, right?
I ended up with 3, but I could
Yeah.
talk.
4 and 4?
Let's push it to
Bernadette
4
had
and
3
4.
and 4.
4 and 4?
I like 4 and 4.
Because it's an enforcement thing, right? Like that you shouldn't be
No,
letting these.
It's not that simple.
No, it's
Okay.
not at
No.
all.
Okay,
It
well,
depends.
what should we rate it as?
I would
say more
say,
than 3.
I would say 4 and 3.
Okay.
Okay.
4 and 3 it is.
It's not a slam dunk.
Next, further capitalize on the Affordable Housing Trust to enable its mission to provide affordable housing. Potential resources include annual CPA funding, Housing Stabilization Fund, potential inclusionary zoning in lieu of units, and state and federal funding. I don't know so much about this, but just by the words, I gave it a 4 and a 4. I do not know much about this.
I gave it a 4 and a 3.
Bernadette gave it a 3 and 3.
Me too.
It's a long-winded statement of identifying funding
I
sources.
think
Okay.
I wrote it, right?
Are you guys saying the same? Are you guys saying the same
I'd
thing?
still say a 4. I would just say.
We're gonna have to, good thing you
it's
two are the
important to
opposite
keep
ends of the table, like,
4, 3?
Can we give it a 4-3
Oh no,
since
we
it's an
did this
analysis
together,
again?
So. David was like, "Well, okay, that sounds."
Punch happy.
No, we're getting close to the end. 4, 3?
4-3.
All right,
We
next
got
one.
a 4-3. And moving on, consider adoption of a variety of specific zoning strategies, oh my goodness, from the Affordable Homes Act that include the starter home district,
Maybe it's
incentive.
some-
I put a 3 and a 2. I don't know about the feasibility of this one.
Yeah, I think
This one
3
was
and 2 or 3 for this feasibility.
3-2.
3, 2.
3-2 is it? Last one on this page, consider bylaws that have been created in other communities to regulate short-term rentals, to better address such issues as public safety, etc., determine staffing needs for administration of such bylaws. I'm going with a 4 and 3 on this one.
I I did a 4-2.
Bernadette had 3 and 3.
I
It
should
should be
say
a 4 and
4.
3. It
I
should.
would go 4 and 3.
Okay,
We've
I'll
got
go
a-
with 3.
Wait, I think you've got enough people
4-3.
looking at this.
We've got a 4-3, and the last two
Set that to 4.
on the last page. Monitor
Monitor
the state list of short-term rental units. Monitor, I like that. Consider whether to pursue a local effort to identify units not identified. I think it's a high impact, but I'll say 3 and 4 as far as impact and feasibility. 3 and 4.
Bernadette had 3 and 4 as well.
All right, I'm sold.
Anyone else?
Anyone else?
I'm sorry, could you
Are
say?
we good with 3 and 4?
David says it's
Three
doable
and
enough.
Who does
No,
it?
I said it's late. I'm going to.
Well, here again, that's part of the problem is who's going to do it, and they're always saying is, oh, well, we don't have enough staff to do this. It's like, I
Yeah.
bet if you hire a
3-3.
summer student,
Three,
they can
four.
do a lot of this stuff in somewheres.
We're all on committees.
Do you
So
wanna make it
people
a
are
3-4?
doing things.
No.
Pardon?
You want to make it a
No, I
3
think
for
most people are
feasibility?
3-4.
No, it said 3 and 4.
It's 3 and
3-4.
4.
3-4.
I'm okay with that.
3-4.
And the last one, drum roll.
Congratulations.
Support the Board of Assessors to grant tax relief for property owners who rent to income-qualified renters on a year-round basis. That's an incentive, so I'm going to go 4 and 4 on that
I
one.
would say 4 and 4 as well.
Bernadette had 3 and 4, and she also indicated that this article is on the annual town meeting.
Okay.
4 and 4, couldn't have failed this year. All right, thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
The VIP of the meeting.
We need you
We
at town
a
meeting.
VIP of the of the meeting tonight. Just 2 things I wanted to make sure we have time enough to discuss with you. So we did a lot. This is super helpful. You have the updated action plan from
Yeah,
David,
we need to get the file.
which is what we had been. We were kind of our smoke
Yes.
signals were crossing
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah.
With what we have left to do, it occurred to me, since we're in very like together we are all whole, is could we do? Well, I don't know if it's a discussion, but for the prioritization that needs to be done, do we want to do that together in person, maybe without Sharon, and we could send you our numbers? Because we've gotten through the high yield ones, the high impact
There-
ones.
Yeah, you have transportation, energy, and waste to go, so it's not.
So do we want to do that? How meaningful is it to everyone, the discussion versus a ranked list that gets averaged? I actually find the discussion pretty helpful. Do we have the bandwidth to do?
I enjoy the discussions. I get educated on
Okay.
various things, and
Yeah.
it really does have an impact on my numbers.
Okay. So is there consensus that we maybe have another session like this, perhaps without you, so we don't burn through you? And give you our numbers? We good with that? Okay. It's obviously not going to be next week because that's town meeting. So let me work on a date. Maybe the 12th, maybe the 13th. I got to see when we got a room.
And then we would have our regular meeting in June.
Yes, I believe so. Okay, so we're cool with that.
So you'll be
The
taking
13th.
the next
Oh.
step, right? You'll be taking the ranking that you've developed, and then putting them on a big chart.
Well, the
essentially,
first,
right? Yeah.
exactly. Well, we
Yeah.
do have to get through this
Gotta
one.
get through the rest of it, right?
But I can offer to at least do the preliminaries for the
Please.
other
Yes.
two,
Mary,
so
you're on
it's on the
fire.
whiteboard,
Yeah.
so everyone can see.
That
You're
would
on
be
fire.
good.
So if we have to massage some of the rankings a little bit from that,
You're on fire.
I can put that together.
Thank you.
I have a meeting on a planning board meeting on May 13th. It's fairly substantial.
Oh, yeah.
So we
I
won't,
won't
we'll
be
try
able
and,
to-
well, could we try for the 12th? Would that be okay? If I can find a room or?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll see if this room is available.
Amazing, for the
12th.
12th. So pencil us in for the 12th without Sharon. Question, Mary, thank you for your dedication. We're grateful for all of,
Thank you
all of everyone's
for
efforts.
everyone's input.
Yes, we're all doing it. LPC meeting. Thank you for trying to get us a room, Christine. We'll make it, I'll be here in person, so, but we'll make a digital option too. Briefly, just in the remaining 4 minutes, feedback on the visual, on the design. I think we talked a little bit about a slide deck, for the Dog and Pony Show that's going to come this summer. Thank you for walking us through the functionality of the different links. We can all comment on the commentable thing. I don't think send that to your friends and neighbors. You know, send just the shareable one. I know Mary had some thoughts on the picture, on the design, without getting too much into it, just to give back to your crew. Source of pictures are the old town report books that I think might, or I may be stepping out of line. I think those are all online.
Are they online? Depends on the quality of.
Yes. The
resolution.
other thing is just making sure that we're getting photos from not like just Harwichport.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know,
you
we
got
love our 7 villages.
Harwich Center currently lists a picture of Harwichport, page 44.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I don't know if does any of that move anyone to volunteer to work on the pictures? I could do it. Is anyone moved on the pictures to collaborate with them? Just we love our 7 villages. We're a very contrarian town.
What would that involve?
Yeah.
Huh? Well, just making sure that we're, you know, a once-over proof with them for the photos, that we're culturally
photos.
competent in our photos.
The
Oh,
photos
not
that
making new ones?
No.
The photos in the version that you've
Ultimately,
just
Yeah,
sent
there
us.
could be some duplicates or just placeholders right now.
There's
so-
more coming. I guess
Well-
ultimately,
Yeah, but
I,
we can
I'm
definitely use
happy
help
to
with that.
comment on the pictures that are currently shown. As far as coming up with new pictures, I would want somebody else.
I do have, and in
Yeah,
addition
but-
with the pictures, so it doesn't look redundant from the workshops we've had before and everything, but if I may, on the aesthetics of the inclusion of the overlay on those pictures from a graphic design, it looks harsh, the big block letters. If we can soften somehow that, just from immediately when I
Like
see
in the road, you mean?
in the road or just having them be apart, I'd like, there's Brewster, their introductory page,
I
their
think
graphic element is
I
nice,
think you
but
should provide a specific example of what you think is better.
on what is better design-wise or aesthetic-wise,
A visual example of
Brewster's first page, Churros, they have the blending of the wording more around it. I'll have to take a snapshot and
If you
give.
have a minute, we can just take a look too, and you should tell me what you're talking about too. I think
Sure.
I think I know, but
it's very
Yes.
it's contemporary.
Yeah,
I
it
was
is.
not I was not bothered by it, but I hear I
Yes.
know your design point. The font choices are contemporary.
that's not a problem. That's
It-
really
It's
easy to
just,
fix.
again, from a
It's-
graphic design point of view,
Those are
it's
really easy to
harsh.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe let's
I think
let's
it's-
table then. No one has to. We don't have a full committee
Yes.
representation, but we will need maybe, and it can be me, to do a cultural competency review at the end of the photos.
Ah,
Because nothing and it can be me, but nothing undermines our credibility when you're
Yes.
talking about Harwich Center and you picture Harwich Port, like,
Right,
it just,
and it could be because
yeah,
you didn't
yeah,
have
yeah,
the
it just
show.
really pisses people
I'll
off.
I've got enough of the town knowledge. I'll work on that part of it.
Amazing.
And what is
Like, I
what
think,
do I have to do by when?
I would
Yesterday.
suggest making comments in that
Okay.
shareable, just add comments, swap out photo, da-da-da. And if you have additional photos, either in your own personal libraries or you know a source of them, just tell us, or share them with us. And
Okay.
that's
yeah,
super easy. to do.
if they're Googling around, I know you have to look back and see, I think our town reports are
Okay.
all digitized, and those
Okay.
photos
All right,
are
we
taken
can-
from around town.
Great, we'll take a look and hopefully there's
Still
some good
findable
image
on the
quality.
website.
Um,
We'll
Now,
help
those
you.
are
much
easy,
worse.
easy fixes.
Yes,
Yeah.
it does.
If you have time to take a walk through it,
I'll
other
sit with
things,
you.
just comment in there,
Yeah.
and we'll see it, we'll
Yes.
see all the comments, that would be great. So the next time I meet with you, we will have an updated layout version that will, it would be nice to have all this in an action plan, like a implementation table or something, like have that work done. like
When
in
do you,
early
so do you think our meeting would normally be June 3rd?
June, or some,
That would be, that's our
That'd be a
next
good-
regular, would
yeah.
that be a good time
That'd
to,
be an
next
excellent
time
time.
to meet with you?
Because then we would have a good month to make other
Got
edits
it.
and, update and so forth.
Got
I think
it.
we're still looking for the capital plan, so
Yeah.
it's like, there's still
Okay,
things to do,
so
but that would give us some
pencil
time.
yourself in, peoples, for the 12th without Sharon, unchaperoned. And then the third chaperone,
Chaperone.
June. Okay.
Okay.
I'll take a look at the photos by the 12th, which is our meeting, and I may have questions for the group as a whole.
Amazing.
And then I'll get it to you, Sharon, after
Okay,
that.
great.
Great work, everyone. Great
Third or
work.
something.
Yeah, Tuesday the 3rd.
I'm gonna send out a
Did we
little
say
document to
next
everybody that
meeting
was
is
here
May
tonight
12th?
about what the
Yes.
racing
Okay, thank you.
looks like, so.
And hopefully
But I think
Very
it's gonna be,
helpful.
I think it's gonna be perfect for what we
Very
want to do.
helpful. Thank you. With that, I think we can close the meeting.
Good, good meeting.
Get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to
Motion,
adjourn.
seconded.
Thank you.
Any discussion? If anyone wants to stay offline just to
Yeah,
provide
if
a
you
little,
want.
I think this is where you're.
That's one of them, and
Gotta go.
just again, more recognizable
This
areas.
So I see. This doesn't bother me. But I'll just talk through it. This is like a young soul who's using a picture from Harwich.
Yeah.
Who I'm like, aren't they being all artistic with the little bike path? And
You're
this
talking
is,
to a gray-haired
this
lady
is
here.
where we're going.
That's
Where we're going. It's
take it
very contemporary.
I don't mind it, but
I don't mind it. It's youthful.
I don't have a
It's
problem.
youthful, and the picture. I'm
Yeah,
just in defending it. The picture relates to.
I'm okay with
the
it.
design relates to the.
Yes, it does, a
the-
road
the-
forward.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's Harwich centric.
I am
But it's a little
agnostic
too.
about
Okay.
I tell you what, the
Sure.
one that's from Brooks Road Beach, Harwich, right on the ocean.
Okay, that doesn't it doesn't serve a purpose.
And
Design.
also Harwich is duplicated. You have Harwich local Harwich, and then you also have Harwich local comprehensive plan. It just needs,
So-
take it off of the ocean. Take that word.
The design has to do with the point, right? They're
Yes.
connected.
Okay, I'm gonna.
Bye. I know. What it looks
Sharon,
like
I'll follow
matters
up
to
with you
me.
regarding the time contract extension in the select board.
See, that
'cause
is
we will
harsh
need a
for
letter
me.
from
Yeah,
you.
no, this.
From Ty and
Yeah,
Bond.
no.
So-
Okay.
This
Okay.
this
All right,
does not
thanks.
have as much design integrity to it, right? Executive summary, Harwich
No.
board doesn't have anything to.
Hey, Chris?
But these fonts or the style can be.
The
anything
style,
like-
yes.
So I think you could compromise. You could make this a little more. What is the best readability? There's science to that. This is a simple, no serif font. Like this is an Arial. Whatever is the most readable. I mean, whoever did this probably does. So that's cool. It doesn't have to look traditional. Yeah, this
What I
we could do
appreciate,
better on this.
this is what I appreciated as far as the graphic design.
Yeah.
Where it just wasn't a word on top of a picture.
Yeah.
This blended in
They
to have
just
a
haven't gotten it.
recognizable.
But aren't they cute? They're putting it on the horizon.
Welcome sails along that shore. No,
What do you call it?
Yeah, the other.
it's almost like an advertisement.
The
Yeah.
other thing is I'm trying to think about more people-centric